Hi, I'm Danny.
And I'm Si. Welcome to Business in the Brew, a podcast dedicated to all things business with the occasional cuppa.
We take a business story, theory, or something we just want to chat about and give it a dusting of our own special personality and sense of humour, combined with our experience and knowledge. We're both business graduates and have run our own businesses for many years. We can't wait for you to listen.
Hello, right. Well, after that lovely tale in the last episode.
Yeah, because it was my story. My stories are nice and light-hearted.
They are light, aren't they?
Yeah,
I bring the dark side in. Yeah.
You are the dark side, Darth Vader.
What is it? Why am I fascinated by some of these darker tales?
Because you like
because
people
I
to be
don't have
fully
any goodness in my life?
No, yes, that's right. You've got a black soul. No, it's because you like people to be fully aware of the stuff that's going on in the world, and you have a natural curiosity.
Yeah, and so do you. You know, but you.
Yeah, but I have a natural curiosity about Disney-fied nice things.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
I'm going to laugh at.
I have become a cynic over the years.
Yeah.
I always kind of scratch beneath the surface.
Maybe in another 13 years, I too will be a cynic.
Yeah. Right. Well. This may affect some of our listeners because of the rate at which cancer can affect people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's about one in two people at some point in their lives. But right, so this is a story of a little bit of really what amounts to fakery and snake oil.
Of course,
that
it is
kind of thing. Yeah,
that's your favourite topic.
Well, I wouldn't say it's my favourite topic, but it's just one that I feel needs sharing on this particular podcast. And imagine that you've been diagnosed with cancer and being told there's a natural compound that you don't have to wait for chemo, or a vitamin even that could kill cancer cells without harming your body, right? I mean, that sounds like a miracle.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Why is no one else using that? Yeah, why is it
that would be my first question.
Yeah. Well, this, unfortunately, is a story that drew millions to Laetrile. I believe it's pronounced Laetrile, but also Laetrile, and it's also called amygdalin, or vitamin B17.
Is that all it is?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. However, the reality is actually far more complicated, as you can probably imagine, and also tragic sometimes. And you and I often talk about corporations. Or is it just me that talks about corporations? How damaging they are?
I listen very attentively.
But this one's more about influential conspiracists with their own agenda, causing havoc amongst their followers, their families, in some cases, in mistaken belief that they're right, and everyone else, including the medical profession and science, is wrong.
Love a conspiracy theory. Go on then.
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a conspiracy theory, but it's just a lot of misinformation and also some desperation, you know.
And that's the trouble. These people are in a desperate situation, and they're vulnerable.
And quite rightly, you would be. Now, I'm just going to start at the beginning because this has got a history. So, amygdalin was discovered nearly 200 years ago in France. And it was isolated from bitter almonds and apricot kernels back in the 1920s.
They're poisonous, aren't they?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Early laboratory studies hinted it might have anti-cancer properties, but the results were always inconsistent. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Amygdalin is actually metabolized by your gut flora to glucose, benzaldehyde, and hydrogen cyanide.
That's the bit that will kill you.
Yeah. That's the bit that people have said cyanide smells like almonds.
Ah.
Yeah.
And why you're not supposed to crunch kernels and things because they've got cyanide in them.
Not,
but yeah.
Yeah. Hydrogen cyanide being the compound of concern. So if you fast forward to the 50s and 60s, there's a biochemist called Ernst T. Krebs Jr.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quite the name.
Who started promoting a semi-synthetic version he called Laetrile. He marketed it as B17 vitamin, a natural non-toxic cancer cure. And the idea was compelling enough, a simple fruit-derived pill that could selectively kill cancer cells.
I mean, can you imagine if that was actually a thing? How amazing that would be. No more hair falling out, no more adverse side effects. You just take one little vitamin.
Yeah. And it quickly gained traction, especially among patients frustrated with conventional treatments. And the conventional treatments were starting up at that point, which often included radiotherapy, for example, and chemo. But by the 70s, Laetrile had exploded in the US alternative medical scene. Celebrity endorsements and glowing anecdotes made it seem like a miracle. And clinics opened up along the US-Mexican border.
Ah, yes, the place where all well-founded medical facilities tend to hang out.
Yeah. Quick escape route, I would say. People were hopeful.
It's a non-extradition treaty territory,
people were hopeful, even desperate, for something that promised a gentle cure or gentler cure, but the science wasn't catching up.
Cure full stop.
The National Cancer Institute launched clinical trials, and the results were clear. Laetrile does not cure cancer. Worse, it could release cyanide into the body, which is toxic to everyone, not just cancer cells.
Which will potentially kill you faster than the cancer would.
And by 1977, and this isn't like, you've got the National Cancer Institute.
Yes.
It's not some private laboratory trying to produce pharmaceuticals that they want to sell instead.
Yeah.
By 1977, the FDA banned the interstate sale of Laetrile, so right across. Some patients fought back, claiming their freedom to choose, and a few states temporarily allowed personal use. So you're not going to tell me what to do. I've got, independent thought. Yeah.
Which, in theory, if you want to take a vitamin, take a vitamin.
Mm-hmm. Well, there were some real tragedies. And in 1982, a 17-year-old girl in Canada died after self-administering apricot kernels. Multiple other patients in the US were hospitalized with cyanide poisoning. Even famous figures got involved. Steve McQueen sought treatment in Mexico in 1980, hoping for a cure for his cancer, and he ultimately died of this, and the story became part of the myth around it.
This is making me sad.
Yeah, we lost an amazing man there. Oops. There's a bit of a side story, which is kind of around, alternative therapies and the power of endorsement of alternative therapies, and also how people can be easily misled in their desperation.
Yeah, we watched a documentary, or half of a documentary on it, about a woman who she have fake cancer and claimed that her cancer had been cured by juicing and various other alternative therapies.
Well, there was a nurse, There was a nurse who became an ex-nurse, and I'm going to go into that in a little bit, but it was actually her daughter. So this is linked to cancer, or it's a cancer-based story, but it's actually more about what people will sometimes believe and what they'll listen to and hear
when they're desperate,
especially if they're being coerced.
Yeah.
As well.
Well, it's emotional blackmail, especially from your family. If your family all believe it and they're adamant this is the thing that's going to save you, you're going to listen to them. Yeah. Well, this is just a little side story about a woman called Paloma Shamirani. So this isn't about Laetrile, but basically an instance of alternative therapy going wrong. And people that take alternative therapies are often desperate. There are people out there who are benefiting. So, and there was a little bit more about that. So she was a 23-year-old graduate of the University of Cambridge. And there's loads of stories out there about this. This is, I'm not repeating one of them, but just basically looking at all of them and pulling out some nuggets here. She was diagnosed with cancer in 2023, so really very recent, with high-grade B-cell non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Lots of references to that. And doctors told her with conventional treatment, including chemotherapy, she had about an 80% chance of recovery. But instead, she declined chemotherapy and pursued a regime of natural healing and alternative therapies such as daily coffee enemas and a rigid diet. Yeah. That can't be pleasant.
Advised by her mum. So she's Kate Shamirani, or Kay Shamirani, a prominent conspiracy theory figure and former nurse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, coroner, upon the death of Paloma, Coroner Catherine Wood found that Paloma's mother had seeded some form of doubt in Paloma's mind about her diagnosis and about accepting chemo, meaning the influence was more than minimal.
Mm-hmm.
And a pathologist testified that the tumour was large, up to 17 centimetres, and was compressing major vessels and airways. And the untreated cancer was the obvious cause of death. Paloma collapsed at home on 19th of July 2024, was taken to Royal Sussex County Hospital and died 5 days later from cardiac arrest and hypoxic brain injury, a consequence of her advanced lymphoma.
She must have felt so ill all of the time.
I can imagine, yeah. The inquest concluded if approached with an open mind, Paloma would have chosen the chance to survive, and if she had undergone chemotherapy, she probably would have survived. And the reality was her mum's anti-chemo beliefs, she was an ex-nurse, influenced her daughter and effectively condemned her to death. And mum was struck off as a nurse in 2021 with the Nursing and Midwifery Council committee finding that she had spread COVID-19 misinformation that put the public at significant risk of harm.
So you're allowed to make your own choice if it's your own choice, but you can't be coerced by someone else to make a...
Yeah. So she even said back in 2020 there's no evidence of a pandemic.
Mm-hmm. That's another can of worms we're not opening.
Yeah. She called herself a natural nurse in a toxic world, but having seen and heard the story, her interviews, outbursts, and many recordings of her, she's just an awful human, a toxic ex-nurse in a natural world, more like. So my business partner's friend also listened to and watched people like Paloma's mum online, followed the same advice, and died of cancer in the mistaken belief she was listening to someone who knew what she was talking about. And that was just last year when she died. How many more people out there are currently listening to this kind of advice that is not medically approved as a result? You can also listen to, and this is fascinating because this is the whole story, Mariana in Conspiracy Land on BBC Sounds. That's a bit of a plug there for BBC Sounds, but it's a very good multi-part documentary about what happened. And her brother is really, really basically condemning his mum, saying that
very vocal.
Yeah. So back to the main story. So why does Laetrile and other quack remedies persist even today?
Because people are desperate for a cure.
Well, it's human nature, isn't it? Yeah. Hope in the face of a terminal illness is a powerful motivator to seek it out. And partly it's a distrust of medical institutions. Partly it's the allure of natural cures. The idea that something from fruit kernels, for example, might be just safer than chemo.
And also the speed, and the word cure in and of itself is misleading. Because they don't call chemotherapy a cure, it's a treatment.
Quite. But the thing is, this is still being pushed. It's still being touted.
Clinics, so diet pills.
Clinics in Mexico and parts of Central America still offer it, often as part of metabolic therapy packages. And meanwhile, agencies like the FDA, Health Canada, European Food Safety Authority keep warning people about cyanide poisoning from kernels or supplements.
Even I know not to chew a kernel. Haven't met any kernels, not gone that high up.
Sergeant, maybe. So the story of Laetrile isn't just about a compound, it's about trust, belief, human desire for control in a life or death situation. It forces some difficult questions. How do we respect patient choice while protecting them from harm? How does hope influence the decision people make when facing terminal illness? Mm-hmm. How should society balance access to alternative treatments with evidence-based medicine? It kind of complexities there.
You can't force someone to take treatment.
No, you can't. No,
in the same way you can have a DNR.
Absolutely, it's advisory. Yeah. The history of Laetrile is a cautionary one. It's a cautionary tale. It really shows how powerful anecdotes can be, because often it's just anecdotal.
Well, it's the
hope,
best marketing, isn't it?
Someone pushing it, they maybe not actually have contracted the horrible disease, and maybe just using stories. Kind of snake oil. Hope can override evidence. How tragic the consequences can become when unproven treatments are relied upon. And for anyone exploring alternative therapies, the lesson's clear. Always consult qualified healthcare professionals. They've been doing this for their life. Promise of a miracle cure is seductive, but in Laetrile's case, it can be deadly. And it's just, I would recommend listening to the Sounds podcast, Mariana in Conspiracy Land, definitely. It is fascinating. There is some hope in it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like a bit of hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm going to wrap it up really because the hope is that, well, I'm not hoping this is going to influence anyone, for crying out loud.
No.
It's a small podcast, but I just wanted to tell the story just as a cautionary tale, and because it interests me what can motivate people. I have not been diagnosed with anything like that.
No, you've never been in that situation.
Yeah, no,
you don't know how you think or feel.
So I really cannot talk with any experience in that area, but I've known plenty of people. I have several people I know who are currently going through cancer treatment, and they're taking the traditional route. The traditional route being the
medically prescribed route. And I do think everyone should have their own choice.
Absolutely, yeah. There's no doubt about that.
But if you're doing something that is actually making you ill, that's just dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Consuming cyanide,
to
be fair, chemotherapy is a poison, isn't it? But consuming cyanide, it's not that sensible.
And just look at what the person who's trying to push this stands to gain from it.
Is there actually a vitamin called B17?
That's what it was called.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway.
So don't chew kernels. Do your research. And we miss Steve McQueen.
We do miss Steve McQueen. Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Thanks for supporting us by downloading and listening to this episode.
And a massive thank you also to Donnie, Emily, Nat and Lewis and the BTD Studios for all your expertise in bringing our podcasting dream to reality.
We'd love it if you commented on this episode, as we'd really like to know what you think and what you might like us to cover in future episodes.
And we'll see you on the next one.